All right, I thought I'd do a video today. I'm gonna go out here to the shop and do a little stuff. I have a woodworking shop that I do out here too, and I got a few tools that I want to go over that I got, and I've had the one table saw for about a year now. So I thought by now I've seen enough and used it enough to maybe do a little video on it that might be some people interested in. To give when I was looking to buy one, it was hard to find a good video on some of the tools. So this is the Warrior table saw that from Harbor Freight, and I bought this because it was cheaper, like $100 or something, and I've had it for almost a year now, and you can see I've got plenty of use on it. Where they I didn't have the money and didn't want to put into buying a DeWalt at the time, so I thought I'd give this a try and see how it did. And I've been really surprised at how good a table saw it is for what I use it for. So I thought I'd give a review on it, so people that maybe need a less expensive table saw to do some, to rip or to do some cuts with that they can't afford, or the DeWalt or something, that this would be a good option for you. And I also got a WEN planer here that I could do a video on at some point. And over here I got the WEN drill press that I've, you know, it is what it is. It's a small countertop drill press, so you're limited on the depth. I think it only goes down maybe 2.5, 3 inches and some of those things. But for a lot of the stuff that I use it for, it works really well. I haven't really had any complaints with it. I've had it for probably about 6 months, and it's worked fine, no issues. And then I got the WEN scroll saw. It's a 16-inch. It does good. I mean, I use it a lot to cut out. It does have some vibration in it, but you know, you get it's got a speed setting down here for your speed, and if you get that set and you get some good blades, I did a lot of work with it. I did a lot of cutouts, some things. I got a Kobalt router table. I use a lot. So I got a few things, and over here I got a Kobalt miter saw that I do a little video on it and how I like it. I've had it for about 1.5 years in the shop. It does a good job. I've been happy with it. There's a couple little things that I don't like about it that I'll show. One of the things I use that I really like is Helmsman clear satin Spar urethane. I use it quite a bit, and I really like it for weatherproofing stuff that I do outside. So I'm gonna go out and I'll show you a couple items that I've done it and get a comparison. And then I got a bench that I built it. I've stained it already, and I want to put 3 coats of this Helmsman Spar urethane on it, and I'll show you that today. And you'll put it on, let it sit for 2.5, 3 hours and dry good, and then do a light sanding on it, and then put another coat. And I do that 3 times. And what I do when I get down to about the 3rd coat is, I don't sand, of course, but take a piece of cardboard, like not cardboard, but like a paper bag, brown paper bag, and I'll wipe that over it instead of using sandpaper. And that helps really give it a smooth, nice finish. All right, here's the little bench that I'm gonna spar urethane today. I built this, and one of the things I'll show you here is it has a skirt on it. And you can see I don't have a joiner. So you can see that table saw that I was talking about, that Warrior, I just take my lumber, and it started off with a 2x12, and I cut it down to 9 inches. So what I did is I'll run both sides across my table saw. I set it and take just a 1/8 of an inch off or something, and then I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. And just, you can see how good a cut that little Warrior table saw does. You can't even really see a seam or anything where I put these together. This is our fan and pump for our air conditioning and heat inside. So I built this cover to put over it to protect it, and I just put the lattice work so it still gets plenty of air and everything. But I stained this with Western redwood stain, and you can kind of see how that looks with just the stain on it. And then this over here is a bench that I built, and exact same stain as that is, the Western Redwood. But with this, I put some of that Helmsman Spar urethane on it. So you can really see the difference that's urethane puts on there, and how nice it looks, and how smooth it is. And I did this about 6 months ago, and it's been outside in the rain, the sun, all the weather, and it still looks as good as it did when I first put it on there. And also I make these American flag posts, same thing, I put it on them. And I've used it on my birdhouse. I got hanging one here. And that Spar urethane, really, if you've never used it for anything like this, it is really good. I recommend it. And you can kind of see where the bench is. There's the view we have. And I have the little bench and the light post all set up here. So, okay, I'm working on putting the Spar urethane on this bench. This will be the first coat. I've already Spar urethane up underneath. I put some towels down to keep the top protected on the table, and turned it upside down, and I did all up underneath and everything that's on the bottom. And then I turned it over, and I've done the legs and all this. I didn't want to figure you need to see all that video. But so now I'm just going to do the skirting and the tops, and let you see how that works. When you first get this stuff and do it, it's white, it's milky looking, but it goes on clear. And I try to just do nice even strokes. You don't need to put it on real heavy. You want to put like a lighter coat on it to start with the first coat, because you're going to give it 3 coats of this. One thing you need to do is be able to get to where you have the lighting, so you can kind of see down it to make sure you don't have any dry spots that didn't cover. You want to make sure it's got a good even coat, and you can brush it out a little bit until it starts to dry. We can get around the edges. I like to do around the edges first and the sides before we do the top last. That way I can kind of touch it and use it to move it around a little where I can get to it better. These guys that have a bigger shop where you could walk all the way around this would be ideal. I have a small shop, but I do a lot of work in here, make a lot of stuff, get a lot of stuff built. So even if all you have is a small shop, you can still do woodworking and turn out some good stuff. You don't have to have a huge shop. I think my shop here is 9 by 15. So there's times where it's a little tight. I also have an attic space that's up there. I could show you that I keep a lot of my lumber up there, so it's not in the shop. I just have small stuff in here that I'm working on right at the moment. But my inventory I can keep up in the attic space. Just nice. I try to do nice even strokes to smooth it all out. Then, after you get it done, go back and walk around and look at it. Make sure you don't have any runs or anything. And if you do, you can kind of get rid of them. You can see that nice gloss shine it's got on it. And this, like I said, I'll let it sit and dry for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And then I'll give it a real light sanding. And then we'll give it 2 more coats. Got a lot of real pretty knots in here. They're nice and solid. They're not going to come out. You can see. And then after I'm done, after I give it the 3rd coat, I'll show you what it looks like finished. Okay, I'm going to show you this other bench here. This is a bench that I built, I kept for myself. Some of them I sell. This one kept for myself. Same style bench. With this one here though, I had some nice holes that I glued and filled in and patched so that they look nice. And then I put a honey teak stain on this, and then the 3 coats of Spar urethane, so you can see how the nice look of. And I'm not using a gloss, I'm using a satin. I don't like the real shiny gloss. And then I did a white transparent stain on the outside, so you can still see a lot of the grain of the wood, because I like that, and the knots and stuff. But one of the things I really wanted to show too is, this is the same scenario. I went from a 2x12 and I cut it down to a 2x9. You see some of these benches even on Etsy, and they're using a 1x board, which is what I use for the skirting. But in order for them to be sturdy to set on, I use 2x. And underneath I'd use pocket holes to put them together. And what I was wanting to show you is, I don't have a joiner, so you can see how nice and tight that seam is. There's no gaps. It fits together real nice. And that's just with cutting this 2x on my table saw. That little $100 table saw, Warrior, from Harbor Freight. That it really cuts a nice edge and straight. I mean, everybody knows DeWalt's are great and all that. But for not being able to afford a DeWalt and wanting something a little less expensive, you can still turn out some pretty nice work with a less expensive saw. Yeah, this one sits in the house. I built this about a year ago, so it sits in our house and it gets a lot of use. Stuff gets set on it and all, and that Spar urethane still gives it a really nice finish and really protects it well. Okay, what I got here is I'm making some of these Halloween boxes. And there's a lot of people that make these boxes. I make mine a little different. All these ones back here, I cut out by hand using the scroll saw. So you can see how, and I can do a video showing how well that's with the WEN scroll saw. So you can see it does a good job of cutting out these things. The main thing is getting a good blade. I had to order some blades, and I got some good blades. But you know, that's some pretty small work. It'll do it. You take your time and get your speed set right with a good blade. I can do a video of showing me actually cut them out for someone who wants to see it. Now these ones down here were cut out with a CNC. Renee got a CNC machine and she's been playing with it, so she cut some out with it. They look pretty good too. So some of the boxes are both. I cut them out. Some of them, I like to cut them out by hand. It's fun for me, so I like doing it. And then she cuts some of the other ones out with the CNC. Like this would be really hard to do for me. It's not impossible, but every time, like the cat was easy because you set your blade once, you drill your holes and get your blade in, and you don't have to take it out. But like this one here, every time you go from one eye, you got to stop it, unhook the blade, take it out, and then put the blade back in. So you're taking the blade off and on, which on this WEN, it's easy to do. And like I said, I could do a video and show you how to do that if you're haven't had a WEN and don't know. So what I'm going to do now is, since I got these boxes, these already put together, well, not the top and the bottom, so I'm working on them. But the way I cut my corners with the table saw, the 45s, and the way I put mine together, you can see they're pretty nice for just a Halloween box. I'm not, getting too particular, but they put together pretty well. They make it pretty nice. There's not gaps and stuff. They fit together pretty nice for this little $100 saw. And then what I need to do now is, so I need to cut out the other 3 sides for each one of these boxes. So I'm gonna setting up some boards here on the miter saw, and I got a stop block I cut them at 9 inches. And I'm going to cut out some of those. You bring it down, you can kind of see it there. It has the line, the light puts a line on it. Now, one thing that I don't like about this miter saw that I'll show you here is right here is where the light is that shines down so you can see your cut line. You've got 2 screws. There's one right here and there's one right here you can take out, and this comes off. The nice thing is the screws stay into plastic. They don't come all the way out, so you don't got to worry about losing them. The thing that I don't like is this thing, dust clogs it up. You got to clean it a lot. because it'll get clogged up with dust and the light, you can't see your line no more. So you can kind of see there, you can barely see it, how dull it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart and clean it, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. All you gotta do is take out these 2 screws. There's one right here. Phillips screwdriver. You know, actually you don't take them all the way out. You just loosen them, see they stay in. But you can see the sawdust that, and this one isn't bad, it gets way worse sometimes. It'll just get full of sawdust all up in here, and actually inside the light right here will get plugged up to where you can't even hardly see anything. It'll get so much sawdust in there. So what I usually do is, it's not that bad, but what I do is I'll hook up my air hose and I'll just blow it out. Just blow it, it'll blow it all out pretty easily. Put a piece of tape across this the one time and kind of tape that up, and it lasted, helped, but eventually it kind of got sawdust back in there again. So I just every so often when it starts to get to where it's hard to see, I'll just take it apart and clean it and put it back together. Just wanted to show you, so if you're thinking about buying one of these Kobalt, this is the 10-inch, I think, compound miter saw. Be aware of that, and if that happens to where you're using it, because I didn't read the instructions, but it's the first time I had a miter saw that had the light for the line on it. And when it first happened, it took me a minute to figure out what it was and to clean it. So by showing you this, if you want thinking about buying one or buy one, if that happens and all of a sudden you can't see your line mark anymore, you just take this apart, you got sawdust clogged up in it. Okay, we're back over here to the saw. You see after I blew it out, see how good the line is now, you can see. So all it did, if you have a problem where you can't hardly see the line anymore and you're not familiar with it, then just take those 2 screws out. You got sawdust in there blocking it, so makes it hard to see. All right, the next thing I got set up here, I'm cutting these at 9 inches. So I already marked the first one. And I set up my stop block, so I know that when I run them through, every cut's gonna be 9 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out enough of these to put the rest of these boxes together, and I'll be back. Okay, I got all them cut out, so I got my 4 pieces for each box. Now, that's not including the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and set these up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set my table saw, and I'm going to cut my 45s on these like I do for these to put my boxes together. So I'll kind of show you that, and you can see with using the saw how that I'm doing that. This saw here is pretty simple. You just loosen this, and you turn your wheel. Up to 45, tighten her back down, and that 45 is true. I didn't even have to set anything or adjust it. It was true right off. Same way with my miter saw, cuts nice. I didn't have to do any adjusting to it, which I thought I would. So I've been impressed with it. For the table saw to be a $100 saw, a saw that I wasn't familiar with and didn't know anything about, I thought at the time, I'm doing a lot of projects around my house and build a lot of stuff around my house, but I wasn't selling anything. And we talked, and Renee said that, you know, since I'm as much stuff as I build here, that maybe we should sell some things. And I had a couple people interested in, you know, I do Viking chairs and benches. So it started off with that, and it just kind of went on to other projects and making some of these other items. So I thought, well, if this saw will get me through until, you know, I can make a little money and see how it does, then I'll buy a DeWalt. And a year later, I'm still using it. I haven't even felt like I need to buy a DeWalt. Now, if I had a bigger shop where I was making custom furniture and, you know, things like that, yes. But for doing what I do, and I make a lot of stuff in this shop, it is done just fine. Okay, I got the table saw set up here where it needs to be set. And I'll start ripping these off. What I'll do is I'll rip the side off each one, all of them, and then once I get that one side ripped off, then I have to adjust my fence in a little, and then I'll turn them over and I'll rip the other side off. So I'll show you just one or two of these here, so you can see how well they do. And I got my dust mask and safety goggles on. That was my dust collector system that kept running there after the saw went off. I'll show you that real quick. It's another Harbor Freight one. It does good. It works really good with the Hercules. It works really good with my table saw. That's the only tool that I have an attachment that it'll hook to, other than my orbital sander. It doesn't have the right fitting for the planer or the miter saw. So, but it does hook up to my table saw. But I like that it has a really long hose that gets around the whole shop. So with that being said, I use it a lot just to clean up and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and rip all the one side of these down like I did this one. Go ahead and cut those. And once I get all those cut out, then I'll shut the saw down. I'll move my fence and get the setting, and then I'll rip the other side down, and then those will be ready to be put together. So we'll go ahead and do a couple of these. And then we'll show you, when you put these together, how nice these corners come together. And that's just setting them up there. That's no gluing or nailing. Once you tighten up, put them together for a little $100 table saw. All right, I got them all cut out, and next thing will be I got to do a little sanding on them and clean them up, and then start putting them together. I just wanted you to see, this is one that I just got through. There's been no sanding, no gluing, no anything done to this other than just being cut out. How pretty nice they look for this kind of a box. And as you can see, it was just with them sitting up there. So once I do a little cleanup, a little sanding, gluing, putting them together, they look really good. So that's just not really, this isn't a video about the boxes or making them. This is kind of a different thing. It was just a video of the saw. I was just wanting to show how good for a cheap saw, but since I had these here, this was a project I was working on, I thought I'd go ahead and use it. This is a good demonstration. If you want to see some other demonstrations or more on the saw, let me know. At some point, like I said, next time I cut out a box with the scroll saw, I can even show you the scroll saw and do a demo on it, how well it works and how well it doesn't work. So just put some comments if you want to. Put a comment down below. Let me know if you would like to see a video on that or any of the other tools I have or things I make. Like and subscribe, and then every time I put out a video, you'll get to see it. I'm going to try to start doing more, and hopefully I'll get better with this, because I'm not really used to doing videos, so this is kind of new to me. So as I put out a few, and I'll learn and get better. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye.